Alrighty, hello everyone. I've been kind of wanting to make Siege content for a while. I realized more and more there aren't really any resources for new players getting into this game. Most of the beginner content is kind of outdated, and I think most of the content creators have kind of moved past making content for you guys. So just a little bit about myself. I'm a 20-something post-grad student working full-time, and I play Siege quite a bit in my spare time. I've been playing since Operation Health. I started on PS4 and then I switched to PC back in Shadow Legacy. I'm going to be kind of borrowing this format from my boy Saul Khan. Great guy for homework help. Definitely recommend. Maybe in the future I might have some gameplay. Right now I'm just kind of doing this sort of low effort visually because I work full time and I just have shit to do. So I'm going to first start off talking about hard breachers and which one to take for what situation. We all know hard breaching is important. A lot of the time, you might not want to be on hard breach, but you're taking one for the team. It happens. I've been there. So let's talk breacher. We've got the OG thermite weapons. I'm not going to go like too crazy into detail. Take the assault rifle always. This thing has next to no recoil, so run an angled grip if you're feeling good about your aim. It's by no means an entry frag weapon, but it's a solid angle holding weapon and good for mopping up damaged enemies. This should be relatively easy to pop heads with, but keep in mind you kind of have a middling rate of fire, so an SMG is gonna wreck your shit close up. So keep that in mind when you play Thermite, play the angles game. Next, well, before I get into that, actually, he has access to both an ACOG or a 2.0 sight. Now, this is kind of personal preference. Me personally, I think the 2.0 sight's a lot better because it's not too zoomed in, but I mean, no one's going to fault you for using an ACOG. Next, we're going to talk about his secondary gadgets. So he has access to stuns or smokes. Now, the cool thing is, these are both good, but you need to know what situation you're using them in for. So, stuns, a common tactic for dealing with outside facing walls. So, I'm talking like Snowmobile Garage on Chalet or the Garage on Consulate. There's a drone hole right beside these walls. So you can chuck a nade through them, and that'll often take out the Cape Claw, the Mute Jammer, the Bandit Battery, or whatnot. Now, people will tend to stack Jaeger ADSs and will my discs to try to stop this. That's where stuns are nice. Therm, he can just chuck 3 stuns in there and then have your guy, the frag grenade, go in, and the wall is yours. Smokes, if you have other ways to clear the wall, these are really nice for when you're planting. Smoke off, angles where they're going to be trying to hold, or give yourself some deployable cover before you plant. Uh, you're gonna have to make a judgment call here and figure out what you're going for. It's really gonna depend on if you're solo queuing or if you have a stack or not. Thermite's big claim to fame is the big fucking holes he makes. He also shines dealing with bandit tricking. So I'm just going to go on a bit of a side tangent here about bandit tricking. So this is when a bandit player is listening for the sound of a heart breach gadget and he places his battery down fast enough to electrify it off the walls. Unlike Hibana or Ace, Thermite can pick up and deploy his gadget and likewise cancel the animation partway through without his charge being zapped. So the hallmark of bandit tricking is when you notice one of the walls is electrified and the other isn't. You know bandit's expecting to place the charge on the free wall. So playing around the deployment, you'll eat some damage, so you can place your charge on this wall and stop it halfway through. And you could potentially fake out someone that's bandit tricking. Now, of course, you're still going to need a teammate that's clearing off the utility or clearing off the bandit. But this is something that's unique to Thermite. Ace and Hibana definitely struggle a little bit more dealing with the situation. So now we're on to the anime girl herself, Hibana. She's really the hatch queen. So you can use her for walls or lines of sight in a pinch, but she's really meant for hatches. Where she shines is that she can make sure that a hatch gets open regardless of impact tricking because of her pellet system. So let's look at Clubhouse Kitchen Hatch. That's notorious for being impact tricked. Cade, I'm not really going to focus on much here because he's a super common ban on that map. It's pretty easy to remove a clock the hatch with an aid. With her pellet system, you can change to the 2-shot system and shoot them 2 at a time to slowly open the hatch. If they impact trick you, they'll have to waste all their impacts over and over and over again while you're only using 2 pellets out of your reserve per time. There's also another small trick I'll mention that her and Ace can do, where they can kind of deploy their gadget on soft flooring near an electrified hatch, and you'll open up the electrified hatch because the explosion kind of has a splash radius. So it's landing on the soft flooring like as close to the hatch as possible without touching the hatch. In terms of weapons, I mean, you're gonna like Thermite. You're gonna use your AR. You're not gonna be running around with the Supernova. The Titan 89 is actually a pretty good fragging weapon. Like, truth be told, you can run this kind of how you like. I'm very on the fence. I change up day to day. Sometimes I like it with an angled grip. Sometimes I'm just trash at the game and I'll use a vertical on it. Has also access to. Oh, this should be a 1.5 because I haven't had my morning coffee. Either an ACOG or a 1.5 sight. Me personally, I like the 1.5 a little bit better here because she's a 3-speed. You can take advantage and do some quick peeks. And then likewise, I personally bring stuns on her because, like I said, she's pretty easy to go hyper aggressive with. There are times when you might want the breach charge, but more often than not, I lean towards the stuns. And next we have Ace, who is my personal favorite. He's kind of an interesting situation. So technically, from a comp and pro sense, he's not supposed to be a primary hard breacher. He's supposed to be more of a secondary one you use to kind of assist Thermite, but he gets other stuff. I'm going to be honest with you, for ranked 90% of the player base, he's enough if you're smart with your utility. His Selmas can make crouch-sized holes, so if you're using him over a Thermite for an outside breach, you generally have to toss 2 Selmas on top of each other, so you know the Selma kind of opens like this. So you've used one and open it up, and now you're going to have to throw the next one over here to make a walk-through hole. His gadget also can remove deployable shields if it lands directly on them. However, it can actually be caught by Jaeger and Wamaya, unlike everyone else. Sometimes you can exploit this to burn an ADS from Wamaya, letting one of your players with a nade tossed into sight. But generally, he has a lot of flexibility. Ace is a jack of all trades but master of none. It takes 2 of his Selmas to open 1 reinforced hatch as well, so keep that in mind. So he can kind of do what Therm and Havana does, but the thing is, he does it worse than either of them. The trade-off here, though, is he has probably the best gun in the game. The AK-12 will absolutely destroy if you have the slightest semblance of gun skill. On it, I personally run the 2.0 sight, vertical grip, and flash hider. Generally, you're holding angles and always ADSing anyways. Some people can make it work with the angled. I am just not one of them. Just remember, you're not entry frag. You need to make sure you're getting the wall first, and then take advantage of that really strong fragging potential he has. For secondaries, I'm normally going to be grabbing the Claymore on him, very useful for people trying to run out on you when you're breaching. And next up is my next main. So Mav is kind of in an interesting spot. He's technically hard breach, but he's most often used as an alternative to Thatcher for removing wall utility. There is a technique called Maverick tricking. So imagine this is a reinforced wall. Basically, with the torch, you're drawing 2 horizontal lines across the top and across the bottom. And what happens is the reinforced part of the wall will fall off, turning all of this soft, meaning a Zofia, a Buck, an Ashe, anyone. Probably not a breach charge because they're going to get their feet blown off. You can just open this. This is an extremely delicate technique, though, and it's super dangerous since a lot of C4s will just start throwing C4s or prone and PQ with a torch out. So there is another scrub way of handling wall utility. Basically, you make a small Mav hole somewhere near the top, and you chuck one of your nades in. That's why I have frags here and, big caps. Always bring frag grenades on Mav. Like, for the love of God, just please don't be one of those people that brings a Claymore on Mav. So yeah, you just open a hole here, kind of like Therm, you have someone with stuns, chuck a few in, make sure there's no ADSs, chuck your nade in, and the wall is yours. Is this a scrub way of doing it? Absolutely. Is it easier and less intensive than Mav tricking? Absolutely. It's good to know how to Mav trick, but you also decide how much you trust yourself and your team to watch your back if you're Mav tricking. Mav also has a really solid gun in the M4. It's relatively easy to run with an angled grip, but I definitely have my days where I'm just not feeling and I switch to a vertical. Flash Hydrant 1.5 is his highest magnification. He's also a 3-speed, so you can also, kind of like Hibana, you can do some nasty quick peeks. I'm not actually sure where to mention this, but I'll just throw this in here. Technically, Hibana and Ace can kind of do a map trick as well, but it's sort of hard to do. It requires the wall being not electrified, and they basically have to deploy either Hibana's pellets or Ace's charge around the top, kind of, actually, more like around here and here. Practice in a T-hunt, it requires really precise. It's kind of hard to gauge on the outside of the wall, and to be honest, I've never really found a time worth using it, but it's worth mentioning. That is it for my Hard Breacher guide. If there's any questions, I will do my best to answer them in the comments. Until then, have a good one.